Alright everybody, in today's video I will be speaking about the main things that need to be considered when trying to grow bigger arms. So I finally decided I want to grow bigger arms, and I want to share with you the process until I reach 18-inch arms or 46 centimeters. So now I'm gonna be measuring my arms to see where I'm at. Damn! No, just kidding. Make sure you get the thicker part. And my right. And as for my forearm measurements, and arm wrestling style, my lefty, so these are the cold measurements for the arms. So this is my morning weight. On an empty stomach, almost naked, and after I went to the toilet. So now you're probably wondering, how is my relationship with training arms? Until now, I used to do 3 sets of barbell curls followed by 3 sets of dual rope pushdowns in upper 1, and then on upper 2 I would do 3 sets of incline curls followed by 3 sets of skull crushers. Of course, done at the end of the workout like everybody else. As for forearms, I used to do 3 sets of wrist curls and 3 sets of wrist extensions. And for grip strength, I would do 2 total grip strength workouts per week, so a total of 10 sets. I would do those with my grippers.
So what changes did I make? I am now starting my workouts with my main compound movements and then followed immediately by the same arm exercises I used to do at the end of my workouts. In addition to that, the biggest change was adding a dedicated arm day besides my regular upper-lower split. I've added 2 sets of easy bar preacher curls and 2 sets of spider curls for my biceps, 2 sets of straight bar pushdowns, and 2 sets of easy bar overhead extensions for the triceps. Also, I felt like I wasn't doing enough for my shoulders, so I added 2 sets of lateral raises and 2 sets of upright rows. I decided not to add hammer curls for now because I am targeting my forearms directly on 4 different occasions, but if needed in the future, I will add them for sure. Now, in total, I'm gonna be doing 10 sets for the biceps and 10 sets for the triceps, and I plan on doing more volume in time, if required of course, for making further gains. Most important thing to consider is that you need to find what works for you in terms of volume and frequency. Start off with the low volume and slowly build up, and I suggest doing only as much as needed to continue making progress. To be noted, proximity to failure and exercise selection is as important as total quality volume. Frequency wise, I am targeting my arms and forearms 3 times a week, and I equally spread my volume among those 3 days. I found that spreading my volume equally on 3 different days improved the quality of the sets because I can push harder to failure without getting too fatigued and also reducing muscle soreness. Higher frequency now, I think, has shown to have some benefits for hypertrophy, even though it's not that notable. Protein synthesis stays elevated no longer than 48 hours, so there might be some benefits to higher frequency for maintaining protein synthesis elevated. But if you're unable to train as often, even though I suggest you try it for every muscle at least twice a week, I still think doing everything in a single workout will get the job done for most people. And you can also, if you want to save time, you can superset biceps and triceps, no problem. So starting off with some basic arm anatomy. Biceps, it consists of a long head and a short head, and is basically responsible for elbow flexion. The triceps consists of the long head, lateral head, and the medial head, and it's responsible for elbow extension. The brachialis provides elbow flexion, and the brachioradialis assists in elbow flexion and supinating and pronating the forearm. Training all those muscles will be crucial to developing a full and complete look of your arms, and none of them should be left aside. What should you do? Doing compounds like pull-ups, rows, vertical and horizontal presses will involve the biceps and triceps to a good extent, and it's going to work for quite some time, but it's a good idea for beginners to just focus on compounds because that's where they'll get the most of their gains from, including arms. I would personally still add isolation movements for beginners as little as 2 to 3 sets once a week for biceps and triceps, and you can probably milk this for a very long time and still make gains. But next step would be adding a dedicated arm day, and I can't stress this enough. Don't do what I did and expect to grow huge arms. Doing arms at the end of the workout is simply not going to be enough, since you're doing them at the point in which you are the most fatigued and you are unable to properly stimulate them. Arms, like every other muscle, need and deserve to be properly stimulated. Another thing you can do is to do your arms sooner into the workout when you are not as fatigued, even as first or second exercise of the day, followed by your regular pushing, pulling, and pressing exercises. Keep in mind that you will lose strength on those movements, but that's okay. It's normal to be like that. You decided yourself to go into an arm prioritizing phase in the first place, so you can simply maintain your current chest, back, and shoulder size because it's pretty easy to do. Science has shown that doing 4 hard sets to failure in a week will maintain all the muscle mass. Another important factor is that you need to learn to leave your ego aside and stop using weights that are too heavy for you, because you'll just end up with pain and no gains. Some body English is okay at the end of the set in order to allow you to finish the rep if you need to, but you should try to aim for a good technique and not swing the weights without controlling them. Try to control the eccentric to squeeze more out of every rep, but don't overdo it and focus on mind-muscle connection. Just control the weights on the way down for like 2 seconds is gonna be enough. Using heavy weights will have a much bigger impact on your tendons, ligaments, and joints, and you will end up having to stop training due to tendonitis. Another advice I can give you is to eliminate exercises that you don't feel good doing or the ones that cause pain, because there's simply no reason to do something that just causes pain. Never work under pain and do the exercises that you like the most and the ones that motivate you to go to the gym, because that's the most important thing for consistency. You don't have to do the regular exercises that everybody does, and you don't need to have emotional attachment to exercises just because your favorite YouTuber said they're good. Add more variety to your arm workouts, like using cables in your routine, doing behind the back curls or above the head cable extensions. Experiment for yourself, see what you like and what works for you, and keep that in your routine. It's important to experiment, to test, to discover, to have a critical thinking and even modify exercises if needed in order to make them more difficult. One important fact is to focus on progressive overload and taking the sets close to failure. You need to take into account if your bicep or your triceps is lacking, start your arm day with that, or after a rest day. Make sure you warm up your elbows properly before starting the workout and do as many warm-up sets as needed to be pain-free. Usually, starting with the biceps will warm up the elbows properly before the tricep work, because most people have elbow pain when doing triceps. Make sure you're properly hydrated before the workout and eat enough food to be able to fuel your muscles and progress. In order to track progress of your arms, I say take pictures of you and measurements and use a logbook for your lifts. You won't realize how far you've come along until you look back at your progress pics and logbook. Use the RPE or RIR system to see how close you are to failure during a set. Also, you don't need to do 6 different exercises for the biceps or the triceps because they're easy to target, being a smaller muscle group. You should try milking out the exercises you've chosen for as long as you can before adding more sets, reps, or changing the exercises. A good starting point for implementing an arm day is to do it once a week, and it can easily be done instead of your normal rest day because it's very low impact and easy to recover from. Now, as for exercise selection, I will say compound movements that are excellent for targeting triceps are close grip bench press, dips, if you don't have any shoulder issues, isolation movements, skull crushers with an easy bar or with dumbbells, lowering the weight behind your head or straight towards your head on those, whichever you prefer and don't feel pain. I prefer dumbbells because I can go lower without touching anything with the bar. You can do one arm dumbbell overhead extension, overhead cable extensions if you have elbow pain. You should go as low as you can on those for a proper stretch. You can do the French press. You can do the JM press on a Smith machine, as Basement Bodybuilding likes to do. This is a mix between a close grip bench and a skull crusher. Straight bar pushdowns and more recently double rope pushdowns have been a staple of mine for a very long time. Most of my tricep gains have come from doing pushdowns with a bar or with a rope. You can do them with a supinated or pronated grip. You can do one arm at a time. They're both awesome. Cross cable tricep pushdowns are another great variation that will cause extreme carnage in your triceps. If you're working out at home, you can do diamond push-ups. That's a good variation for your triceps. As for the rep range, for closed grip bench, I like the 6 to 10 rep range. For dips, I suggest as high of a rep range as you can perform. I don't like going heavy on those. For the isolation movements, I personally always go above 10 reps, but not higher than 15. This is just personal preference. For volume, as a side note, there are some important factors to consider before adjusting your volume that will greatly impact the quality of your workouts. Before you even think about volume, it's important to make sure your technique is good and have proper tension in your muscles when you train. You need to have good proximity to failure, 0 to 2 reps in reserve. It's important to focus and be prepared mentally to train with effort and also focus on progression. You should periodize your work and use progression methods that I will describe later in the video. It's important to have proper recovery, and only then, after you got those boxes checked, you can start thinking about volume. For isolation exercises, as discussed before, I suggest starting out low, maybe 2 to 4 sets for beginners, 3 to 10 sets for intermediates, and for advanced, I cannot speak, but I believe anywhere from 6 to 12 sets would do the trick. Volume is tricky in general. You need to find what works best for you. As for the biceps, compound movements that target the biceps are chin-ups, rows, pull-downs, some isolation exercises, incline curls. Those are excellent for targeting the long head of the biceps by increasing the stretch in the bottom position. Preacher curls, those are effective for targeting the short head of the biceps. Can be done with a bar or with dumbbells. You can do straight bar curls if your wrists don't hurt, or you can do easy bar curls. Another great exercise is the spider curl, behind the back cable curl for a good stretch, and close grip easy bar curls. You can do arm blaster curls, dumbbell preacher curls, cable curls. I really like cable curls. When I was working at the gym, I would always take them close to failure, and they would feel awesome. Cable hammer curls with a rope, dumbbell hammer curls, concentration curls, or even strict curls. As for the rep range for the biceps, for chin-ups I suggest 8 to 10 reps and 10 to 12 for rows. For the isolation movements, I like the 8 to 10 rep range for the incline curls, 10 to 12 for preacher curls, 10 to 12 for standing easy bar curls. Behind the back, around 13 to 15 reps. Cable curls, 12 to 15, and for hammer curls, 8 to 10. For the volume, I suggest you do the same as for the triceps. For forearms, here it's quite simple. Do a wrist curl variation, dumbbell or barbell, a wrist extension, reverse grip curls, hammer curls, all of that. You can use elastic bands that stick on your fingers. You can do the traditional Chinese rice in a bucket method, and you can use also grippers. Rep range. For wrist curls and extensions, I like doing 12 to 15 reps because the range of motion is pretty small and it's easy to do high reps. For volume, I suggest starting out with 3 sets of wrist curls and 3 sets of wrist extensions and 3 sets of hammer curls. One very important topic I want to discuss is proximity to failure. How close to failure should you be going? I would say a pretty good recommendation is going for 0 to 2 reps in reserve. That will lead to growth for sure, but the best thing to do is to make sure you're doing high quality sets. Don't be afraid to take your arm isolation movements to failure because it's safe for the most part. Learn and experiment for yourself what true failure is and go from there. I see many people stopping when it starts burning and they assume they've hit failure, and that's simply false. One important thing you can do is to learn resistance profiles and use them accordingly. Doing lengthened bias exercises such as incline curls or overhead tricep extensions are as important, if not more important, than shortened bias exercises, as research suggests. A good idea would be to do the lengthened bias exercises twice a week and shortened bias once a week. That would be if you do 3 days a week frequency. Progression. Double progression and dynamic double progression. I've been using the double progression method for my isolation movements and it's been going great. For those of you who don't know what double progression is, I will briefly touch on this right now. It's basically a way of increasing the reps and the weight lifted to drive progress. For example, if your rep range is 8 to 10 for 3 sets and the weight you're using is 50 pounds, you aim each set to do 10 reps, and only when you manage to do 3 sets of 10 reps, you will increase the weight. Dynamic double progression. I've been experimenting with this and it's working great because it's more adaptable to how I feel on a specific day, and it assures me that every set will be a quality set no matter how weak or strong I am from week to week basis. It's auto-regulated and it's basically a way of adding both reps and load to a movement from week to week, and each set has its own progression. So I can give you an example here. For example, if you have the rep range 10 to 12 reps, in week 1 your first set will be 12 reps with 100 pounds. So if you've hit your top number from the rep range, that automatically means that from next week you will increase the weight. Your second set from week 1, you've only managed to do 10 reps, and most likely you won't be able to repeat the performance for the third set and stay in the rep range. So you just lower the weight and do as many reps as you can. In this case, this person managed to do 12 reps with 95 pounds. The next week, because you managed to do the top of the rep range in the first week, you will increase the weight. And for the second set, you maintain the weight. You see, you only managed to do 10 reps. Most likely for the third set, again, you won't be able to stay in the rep range. So you lower the weight by 5 pounds. And as you can see, you can do 12 reps and stay in the rep range, and so on for the week 3 and week 4. Another way of making progress for the isolation lifts is using the rep goal system that was popularized by Steve Shaw. Basically what this is a number of reps that you're trying to reach. Let's say, for example, 25 reps, and you're simply adding the reps from each set you've done. And after you manage to reach 25 reps in total from 3 sets, then you will add weight. But for more info, please visit Steve Shaw's channel. Now, I wanted to add this topic to this video, but it's not as important. It's using intensifying techniques. Intensification methods are some ways to go beyond failure, including drop sets, rest pause, forced reps, myo reps, lengthened partials, and so on. These should be used very sparingly because they can increase fatigue quite a lot, and it's much harder to track progress. It's also harder to recover from session to session. I think going beyond failure has its place, like incorporating an intensified technique on your last set, for example, to finish it off. But for most people, I suggest you just do straight sets, as it's less fatiguing and they will be enough to generate good progress. So, in summary, building bigger arms require dedication and direct work, and integrating a wide variety of exercises that target both the lengthened and shortened position for a complete development. Your main focus should be progressive overload and proximity to failure, and volume. Volume should be easy to regulate based on your recovery. Of course, getting enough protein, calories, and sleep will have a big impact on your progress, as for everything else you do in the gym. So make sure you check those boxes too. Thank you for your patience and see you on the next video. If you found this helpful, leave a comment or a like. More videos coming soon. Have a good one. Bye bye.